Hi, I'm Tammy Ozturk, the designer of badbobbin.com, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make the basic square luggage tag holder. How to use it, the window, how to cut it out, leave your flap, and to do the strap. And this strap I'm featuring has two snaps instead of just one, a double security. That was my husband's great idea when I made my first one and only had one. He goes, why not put two for double security on your luggage, and leaving the flap on it to cover your information so nobody sees it while you're in line or at the airport. You don't want people to know you're going on vacation and to give them your address and telling them you're not home. So security part. So also this is a cute little scrap pack again piece from one of the vinyl companies that I buy from. I do buy from many, and I'm not just specific for one or the other, but I also, people have always asked, so I'll go ahead and tell you in the beginning of the videos now where I get my vinyl, and I'll probably have a link for this also down below in the description. This vinyl was featured in-house printed on a nice woven fabric back vinyl, and it's done by avscraftingsupply.com, and this is one of their cute little Halloweens that they were featuring for the week, and I happened to get a little scrap from it. So let's head over to the cutting table and I will show you what we need to make this cute little simple luggage tag. See you at the cutting table. Okay, we're here at the cutting table, and this is what we're going to need to make our Bad Bobbin's version of the window luggage tag, featuring vinyl that was in-house printed by AV's Crafting Supplies. This was just a sample pack they sent me of remnants, I guess, or a scrap pack, and it just happened to be perfect size to make this. I actually had to use just a clear, or not clear, sorry, a white vinyl for the other side of the strap, but I was able to get 3 pieces out to make this luggage tag. So the first thing we're going to need, it'll be in 2 hoopings. So we have our scissors and cutting tools and different, you'll definitely need a small little 4-inch pair, whether it's curved or straight. You'll need the small pair to cut the little window part. It'll be 2 hoopings and a 5x7, so we have tearaway for both hoopings. And then what we're going to need for our first part, which will be the window part, that's going to need a piece of vinyl. Could be any vinyl. It doesn't have to be printed, doesn't have to be by, you know, this company. So any vinyl that you have. The first piece will be 3.5 by 5, and then we have our little clear part for the window, and this clear part is anywhere from 14 to 16 gauge. You want it kind of nice. You don't want the real thin stuff, so it's a nice quality thickness for this one. 14 or 16 gauge for this one. Then the clear is going to be 2.5 by 3 3/4. So 2.5 by 3 3/4 and 3.5 by 5. And then our second hooping, which is going to be our strap and our back piece. This piece can be anything, any color. It can be a coordinating color if you want. It doesn't have to be the same exact one. Anything you'd like to use is 3.25 by 5 for this piece. So this piece will be 3.25 by 5. Then our strap piece, you're going to have 2 long pieces. They can be coordinating, they can be both the same, anything you want. They don't have to be even that, they can just be a plain color. So anything or combination you'd like, does not have to be what I have. So this one's going to be 1.25 by 7 3/4 long. So 1.25 by 7 3/4 long for the strap. The second hooping of the 5x7, you're going to be doing the luggage tag back side, and then we will be joining with that part 1 of the window to the bottom, and then after that part's done, in the same hoop, same time, we're going to be doing our strap as well. So just letting you know on that part ahead of time. 2 hoopings, all pieces will be done. You need to do one also first, and then we're going to go ahead and do part 2 and 3 of the strap. So I'll see you at the machine. Okay, we're at the machine, and we have our first hooping we're going to do for our luggage tag, which is going to be the window part. little window part, and then I'm going to put this in the machine. And I'm also, what I did was moved my pattern all the way over so that I can utilize this and I can sew something out on the other side. So my tag, our luggage tag, is going to be pattern moved all the way to the left. So my first part is going to be an outline for the size of my vinyl and the outline of where I'm going to put my window. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to look on the back, and I have these little threads that I'm going to cut because I don't want them in the way or part of it. Doesn't matter. This is just to show where to put that vinyl. That's why I said I don't mind cutting these off. It's the next part we're going to also make sure so that they don't show up. So my first thing I'm going to do is lay my clear piece right over top of the centering it over my square, and I'm going to tape two sides down. I don't want to go over where the stitching is going to be. This side too, and I'm going to do the tack down for the little window. I'm going to pull that out, take my tape off. There we go. And then I'm going to flip it to the back side as well. I have some little strings hanging, so I want to get rid of those. Again, less bulk. If there's anything hanging, I'm going to take my little lighter and just singe it a little bit just to hold it down. Alright, and then the next thing I'm going to do will be laying my vinyl piece right on top of the window. So if it's directional, you want to make sure if it's the right way. This one is a little directional with the wording, so I want to make sure up top is where my little eyelet's going to be. So I'm going to center it in here, making sure I have enough up top for my eyelet, so I don't want to go too much below this bottom line here. And I'm going to tape it down as well. I'm going to tape this one on the sides. And we'll put it back in the machine and sew out our guideline. Sorry. We're going to sew around our window, and then we're going to sew the eyelet where we're going to put the loop through, and then our guideline, which is going to be our hemline, I call it, which will go straight across, that we're going to cut near. Okay. Alright, part one is finished. Take our tape off, and I'm going to go ahead and take it out of my hoop. Actually, I'm not going to unhoop this. I'm going to use this side for something else. So I may just gently remove it out of this and tear it out of this hoop stabilizer. So then I'm going to take it to the cutting table and go ahead and show you how to cut it to be prepared for our next part. So this isn't too bad tearing out. It's a simple, it's coming along pretty easy with this tear away. So see, I've actually torn it out, so I'm going to go ahead and utilize this spot for another window for another luggage tag. So let's head on over to the cutting table, and I will show and explain this part, how we are going to prepare this for part two. Okay, we're back at the cutting table for this little part, and I'm only going to show you a few things on this. So I did tear it out of the our hoop, and I want to make sure to point out, we want to make sure we tear away the little tearaway that's inside the window part, and then there's a little piece of tearaway inside this little hoop, or our little eyelet, which is where our strap is going to go through. So I want to cut off all these little pieces that are hanging and our little knots. This is going to be on the inside, but we don't want them to come undone and end up showing through our little window part. And then down at the window here we've got a little excess. So I want to make sure that we cut that off as well. And then that way it's not showing through our window. Here and there, so I've got my little lighter and I'm going to singe some of the edges and show you how I do that part. So just where they're hanging here, I want to just singe it a little bit, and that way it kind of rolls up, gives a little ball, gets it out of the way, almost like making a little knot there, and it won't come undone or fray. So there we go, push them down in there. We're all set. So this little part we're going to cut out, and we'll do that with our little 4-inch scissors. Hoping I stay in focus for you, sorry. So I'm just going to start with putting the tip of it in, and just, you know, just wiggle it a little bit just to get it to go in, and then we're going to go ahead and cut, just cutting a little bit coming out of the inner part here. All right. I want to cut, you know, nice around just to get us a little bit. I do this early, that way I can line up the second piece with this one. We'll see you back at the machine. Okay, now we're on to part 2, and it's in our 5x7 hoop. And my first thing I'm going to do is my placement line, and I'm using black, and I want to make sure my bobbin thread is the same color, so I've also changed that to black as well. So I'm going to do my placement line. Alright, I'm going to take this out. I'm going to clean up the back part a little bit, my threads. And when you do the lighter, you don't want to hold it too long so that you don't burn your stabilizer. So flip it back to the top side. I'm going to tape it, and I'm going to make sure it's directional, since my pattern is directional, that it's facing the right way. And my eyelet's going to be up at the top, which is the top of my luggage tag in the bottom, so I'm going to make sure that it's the correct direction facing upwards. And I'm not going to use my tacky spray, but I'm going to tape this down this time, just on the edges. And we'll go ahead and put that back in our machine, and it's going to stitch out now a hemline or a top line and the little eyelet, and then it's going to stop, and we'll add the next piece. Alright, take it out of the machine, and it did what we needed. We'll take our tape off the top part, and then I'm going to now take my part 1, the window part. We're going to flip over our frame. I'm going to cut some of these threads out. Going to go ahead and I'm going to cinch some of these little edges here on the back. All right. And I'm going to take my part 1 and lay it on and line up our lines and line up the little eyelet, and you'll see it on top of this eyelet. And we want to make sure it's right directly lined up. And the eyelet is lined up. And then we're going to tape it down. And this part we want to really make sure it's secured and taped down so it doesn't shift or move. Go. And then when we flip it over, we'll press even harder on this way to make sure the tape is secured. And we'll do our last step for this part, is going to go and sew it around and back up. And that'll be the completion of the tag part. Alright. So we finished our luggage tag part, top and bottom, it matched up perfect. And the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to take the tape off so it's not in the way, is across the top here of the 5x7, it's also going to do the strap that we're going to have for our luggage tag. So I'm going to sew out the placement line for that. Okay, I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to work on the back side first. And I'm going to use my tacky spray on this one. So I'm going to tacky, or you can tape it either way, but I'm going to use my tacky spray real quick. So quick spray on the back piece first. We're going to center it on our tack down line. So it's centered. And we're going to make sure and press down, and then I'm going to tacky spray and I'm going to put our top piece on. So the bottom piece first and then our top piece. We're going to put it back in the machine, lifting up a little bit, making sure it doesn't get caught. And we'll do our final tack down stitch. Well done. We have completed all our steps, making sure everything's good before we actually remove it from our hoop. And we'll go over to the cutting table and finish it off and show you how to do that. Meet you at the cutting table. Alright, I'm going to take the stabilizer off and trim all the threads around it and singe them, and then show you how we do the cutting. Okay, now for the cutting. I always do my 1/8 cutting. It's only going to be from the stitch line 1/8 of an inch, and I use the ruler, and my 1/8 is on the inside of my line, so it's a little less than 1/8 around the edge. I'm going to take my regular scissors and we're going to just cut our corners, make them rounded for our strap. Alright, Now as for the window and our one other tab to cut out. So the same thing with we'll do the tab first. And I'm going to just gently poke it in. I have my finger inside so I don't go through the other side. Just gently like wedge the tip in and just start your first little snip. And then go ahead and just, almost like your window, when you do the window, you're just going to do little tiny cuts around. And then come around the corner. Same thing on the other side too as well, just tiny little cuts. And you're going to do the same thing and just come around the corner a little bit. There we go, we got that piece cut out. They match perfectly. And then the next thing we're going to do is our window. It's up to you on how you want this part done. I mean, your strap's going to go through, it'll keep it closed, whatever information you put inside is kept in there. And I leave the flap on, just like on my the watermelon luggage tag as well, so that the flap stays over our information, and when our luggage is sitting there around the conveyor belt or in front of you, next to you in line, people can't see your address or your information and knowing you go on vacation and then get your address knowing you're not home. So that's part of a safety thing, is to leave the cover on your information. So we're going to leave the flap, so you can either have your flap go this way, have the flap come upwards. With it hanging, I'm going to have my flap go downwards. So I'm going to start at my one corner and then come around and then edit the other corner. So I'm actually going to work this way so that my project is in my hand. Okay? Same thing, just wedge your little corner in. Remember, you have a clear pocket in there, or a clear that we don't want to go through. So one of the ways is to put your finger in there to kind of feel it. And you want to go sideways so you don't go right through that clear. And this one I can't show you because, so this is why you can either do it beforehand or after. I felt it, my tip is not going through the clear, so I can start slowly cutting. And we want to do it really nice and neat because we're going to end it. This one's going to be left on here as our flap. I'm going to get close to the edge and just do small little cuts. I don't want to snip through. Snipping through leaves jagged or rough edges, and we don't want to do that. The only place I'm going to snip now is into the corner to get a nice sharp edge, and then I'm going to turn my project and do the same across the bottom. And there we have it. Our flap. We're going to keep the information inside. You can do like your business card, or on the back of a card would even be fine. It works perfect inside there. And then we're going to have our strap. I'm going to show you how to do the strap. And that's our luggage tag for that part. So, flap stays on, or you can take it off. It's up to you. There we go. Okay, so for the strap, we're going to do snaps, and we're actually going to do it a little bit different. This was an idea from my husband. Instead of just doing one snap and then it possibly coming undone, you know, just the one, was to do 2 snaps. And we're going to go ahead and we poked our holes. There we go, poked our 2 holes. And I'm going to insert both caps into it on one way. And what this will do by putting the caps here is when I bring it around, it'll help me give a guideline as to where I'm going to put my other holes. So what I'm going to do is just lay that on there, guide it, and then I'll press down. And that's going to give us the 2 little divots on where I want to poke my next holes. There we go. So I've got 2 caps there, and I'm going to put my other 2 caps on the opposite side. And then with this, we can either, for a little secureness, instead of having both sides a female and both sides a male, I'm going to alternate them. So I'll do a female and a male, and then the other way is going to, you know, join up So it'll be perfect. I'm going to go ahead and use, you can use your hand press. I have a table press, so I'm going to go ahead and use my table press, and I'll be right back. Okay, it worked out great. And we want to make sure that when we do close it, remember that your next joining pieces need to be opposite. So they both snap closed and they both open. So it's just double security that you can do 2 snaps, up to you. We're going to slide it through and snap both, and we're all set. So this is the basic square luggage tag with our loop. And this one is by Bad Bobbin, and we were featuring a scrap little piece from avscraftingsupplies.com. And we're a cute little thing, leaving the flap on it, or you have the choice of cutting it off if you want. So thank you for joining me. If you enjoyed my video, give me a thumbs up. Yay. Remember to subscribe, hit that bell, that way you'll get more information, more general, it's going to be ringing that bell will give you information that I have a new video out and that kind of thing. And information, any questions down below, would be great and happy to help you on those and answer them for you. Have a good day. See you at the cutting table.